Hiya and welcome to this month's crafting vlog. It's mainly about weaving fibre arts this month. I've woven a shawl, I've started some knitting. I've also got a bit of the slow stitching coverlet of comfort included as well. But yeah, because the seasons have changed, I always feel cool to start using my wool, spin wool, make things with the massive yarn stash I've actually got. So welcome to the video and enjoy it, and I'll see you at the end. So a lovely creative mess is going on here. Well, not too much because I'm reasonably tidy. Now the seasons have changed and it's winter, I have decided to make myself some wrist warmers, which I'm actually just going through all my hand spun wool here. Sorry, throwing you around everywhere. This is all sort of the natural wools. I think they're all Aran in there now. I've just sorted through them. I'm not going to use those. I found this double knit alpaca, which hopefully it's 103 grams double knit 2-ply that I've spun, and hopefully I'll be able to get some knitted wrist warmers out of these. I've crocheted loads of wrist warmers, but I've never knitted any, so I'd like to have a go at that if possible. So I've got to find a pattern for this. Yeah, all these yarns have come out of there. This pile over here I'm working through because my mum is going to knit me a poncho. She just made herself one using my hand spun because I've got so much of it, and it looks beautiful. So she's going to make me one. I'm not really sure what colour I'm going with here. Got a bit of a mixture going on. Not the orange, that shouldn't be in there. I think that's a bit too bright, and I think the red will be too bright. I'm sticking more to the purples and maybe that green, but I'm not so sure about that green or that actually. Mind you, the camera makes it look a lot brighter than it looks to me on the floor. Yeah, I think the purples and the blues. The red kind of goes because it's a pinky red. I'm not sure about that green. So I'm gonna windle that lot down into a better combination. I've got my loom out because I haven't got to. I'd like to make 3 shawls. Hold on a minute, I'll go and find one to show you exactly what I mean. Right, I've grabbed a couple. This is a merino one. It's lovely and soft. It's just a plain weave, this one. It's really long as well. Not that I can show you because I'm too short. Yeah, so there's an example of a shawl, and I've got to make 3 of these. One for my mum, and I have 2 friends. One friend doesn't know that she's getting one, and the other friend said she'd like one. And I love weaving them, but to be fair, I'm more into doing the big, chunky, full of colour ones like this, with some tassels. You still see me? Some tassels, and lots of colour. So I'm going to I'm going to make 3 of these. They don't take that long. I've got plenty of yarn. I've just got to warp up the loom. So I'm going to do that this afternoon. I might film some, it depends, because I've got to find somewhere to do it. Normally do it on the kitchen table, but at the moment my husband is sorting out loads of stuff on there, so I might not even get it done today. So yeah, I'll just pop this one, do a bit of modelling. Lovely and cosy because they're all woolen, like so. And actually, I think my YouTube picture is me modelling one of these. Yeah, 3 of these to make, so I ought to get started on that. So I'll go back to what I was doing and turn you around. Before I turn you around, I've just found another one. This was all hand spun, and let's give you a model. And yeah, woven. What I try to say? Oh, out of natural colours. So these are all natural browns, whites, and greys. Anyway, I will turn you around now and we can have a look at what I'm doing on the floor with all my yarn everywhere. The other thing I wanted to make was knit a jumper, I think. Have a go at knitting a jumper, maybe crocheting a jumper, because knitting's not my strongest point. So I was looking at these. These are all double knit hand spuns, all natural colours. And I thought, do I want a natural jumper? Bit of alpaca in there, a couple of shades of alpaca actually. And then a mix of other fibres, but all natural colours. And I'm thinking, do I want a brownie jumper? I've got plenty of yarn for it, which is good. Or, I think this is too bright for me. I do like bright colours, but they're all the sort of oranges and reds. Anyway, tell me in the comments what you think. What should I make? A brown one, natural one, which would look a bit like that actually. Or am I going to go for a brighter one in yellows? And I'll probably throw it. Oh, there's a nice orange look. I could probably throw in those reds as well. So do I do a jumper in that colour or that colour? Let me know what you think. These ones I think can just be thrown back in there. And then I'm going to sort out, sorry, I'm moving around a bit too quick there, making you feel sick. Sort these colours out, the correct colours, for my mum to knit me a poncho. Right, there we have it. I finally decided, and they're the colours I am going to give to my mum so that she can knit me a poncho. I think they all go. Do you reckon? Do let me know below, because I'm not the best at colour. I just bungle colours together and hope for the best. But I nearly threw this one out, but I kind of think it kind of goes in the middle of the two greens there. And then we've all got the purples. I did throw out the red. I thought it was too red in the end. And I did throw out that green as well, because it's not quite... No, it's not right, is it? We'll throw that in there. Get rid of that one. So yeah, they're the colours I'm going to have for my poncho. So I'm sorted there. They're all Aran weight. And there hopefully should be plenty there to make a nice, long, chunky poncho. And with that, thinking I'd found all my yarns, I know I had this box here, but I generally thought it was art yarns, as you can see like that. But look what I found. I found another purple and a blue that will go nicely, I think, in the poncho colours. So I might add those as well. I'm not sure what else is in here, whether I could make a jumper from anything. I'll have to have a rummage and I'll get back to you. Right, I've decided I'm ditching this lot into here because I'll turn the camera around again. I hope you're not feeling sick in this video because I feel like I'm throwing you around everywhere. I'm ditching them, that colour, and I'm going to go for the jumper in the natural colours because, let me turn you around. Ta-da! Look, similar colours. I crocheted this jumper. I just can't get it in. Can't get far enough back. Let me see if my camera will go down a bit. Hold on. Let's just not worry about editing here. Is that any better? Not really, is it? But anyway, this is my jumper. It's the only jumper I've ever made in my life. I crocheted it and it worked quite well. It actually fitted. And as you can see, the colours are very much like that pile I just ditched back into the yarn box. So I'm going to have a go at either knitting or crocheting a natural coloured jumper. Or cardi. I need both. Trouble is, I've got so many projects on the go. I still haven't finished those purple socks. They are driving me crazy. I can't even start the second sock. I keep having to pull it apart. So lots of projects, but it's winter and I like using yarns in winter. So there we go. I just thought I'd show you in my weaving box. These are all hand spun yarns that are like leftover, tiny bits left over. And what I have is a big batch of lolly sticks. They're not really lolly sticks, they're actually advertised as like when you go to the doctors and they hold your tongue down. They're wooden, so I've got a load of those. And what I do when I've got some yarn left over, like this bit here, it's a bit too big to get on one of these sticks, but smaller bits of yarn left over from a project or whatever, I will wind them onto there. So I've got all different ones in all colours and thicknesses, and I've even got some twisty art yarns as well. So what I end up doing, this will make a lovely oh, I've lost the word. Don't you hate it when that happens? It's my age. It will make a lovely shawl. There you go. I've managed to get the word back. well, I'll just pick colours and go for it, and then we'll get a lovely multicoloured shawl. So I'm going to be using those, and then I'm going to have to look out some more yarns, probably for the warp, because these won't be long enough. I could use a couple for the warp, but I think I'm going to choose something else. And then I'm going to try and warp up the loom now, because I think my husband has actually cleared the table so I can use it. So I've secured the loom onto the table using one of those, and then I've used my table, my kitchen table, all the way down here. And then for the length of a shawl, I end up pulling the chair out, and then I attach my, I don't know, whatever you want to call that, post obscurely onto the chair, and then that is where I'm going to be warping my loom, which will become more clearer in a minute when I've actually put some yarn on it. These are the colours that I've chosen for the warp. They're all little small balls, so that's quite handy really, because you know, you couldn't make much with them anyway. So they're the colours I'm going to use to warp up the loom. The first job I've got to do is actually wind each of these skeins into a ball. So that is going to take me a while, but I'll be getting on with that, and then I can actually warp the loom, hopefully in time before tea. Might take me a while. Here I am warping the loom. This took me, I reckon, a good hour, because by the time I'd actually unwound the skeins into balls of wool, yeah, it took a while. As you can see by the end of the footage, it's dark outside. The loom is finally all warped up. There's all the different colours that I used. I'm really happy with the results. It gives a lovely variation of colour. As you can see, that colour there and that colour there weren't in the initial showing of the colours. I had to add them because I didn't actually have enough yarn. These leftover scraps will be of use. I will wind them around the wooden sticks and use them in the weaving. Here I obviously need my husband's help, because he has to hold the ends of the wool and walk towards me as I gradually wind the wool onto the shaft. He has to obviously make sure the tension is tight, and I'm adding bits of cardboard to kind of keep the warp separated and not getting all too bunched up. I've moved back into my craft room, and now what I've got to do, I've got to get the ends, or one of the ends, through the tiny holes. So you grab the second one and you pull it through the hole. Now I have to do that, and if you see now, one thread, one bit of cotton's up and one's down. So that's how you then will weave through those when you weave through the shed when you move the heddle up and down. So I've got to go along there. It's going to take me a while, all the way along, putting them into the holes. Yeah. What I like to check is just go along and make sure that there is one strand through the hole and one strand through the slit, and then if not, obviously you've got it slightly wrong, you can rectify it before you tie the ends on. Luckily they all look okay. Now I'm just going to tie the ends on, and I'll show you that process. The loom's now turned round, and as you can see, all loose ends. These loose ends need to be tied onto here. There's various ways of doing it. I think I do it the way that the Ashford people that make the rigid headle looms do it, but I'm not sure. But I'll show you anyway. I won't really show you the process because I'm going to need both hands, and you'll probably get a bit bored of me doing it anyway. So I'll when I've done a bit, I'll show you, and then you'll get the idea of it. So I'm just untangling them, making sure they're nice and straight. I actually just looked up a different way on YouTube how to do them, so I'm not doing it the Ashford way. I couldn't be bothered to get out a piece of extra string and warp it all through, so I quite like this method because you can easily adjust them too. So I'm popping them, doing it all wrong, it's because I'm talking to you, popping them over the top there, bringing them underneath, keeping the split there, and then I'm doing, I hope you can see this, my hands are a bit in the way, doing a surgeon's knot, which is going round once like you're tying your shoelaces, and again like so, and pulling that tight. And then that means in a minute, when I've done all of these, that I can check the tension, and if that one's a bit more flimsy than the other one, or that one's a bit tighter, I can just lift these up, so you pull them up that way, and then drag down and tighten so that the tension's even. So I'm going to do this the whole way along. I tend to sort of go in colours, obviously not, I wouldn't do all those reds there in one division, but yeah, I tend to go in colours. So obviously really I suppose you should do say 10 10 10 10 10 10, but I'm a bit lazy like that. So I'm not doing it that way, I'm doing it this way. I'm just trying to think what I'm doing now. Yeah, over the top there, underneath. So all the tension is pretty even, nice and tight and firm, including the edges. I've always had trouble in the past with the edges being a bit more slap on either side, so that end and that end. And I've then done a bow just to secure so that those surgeon knots do not come undone. Yeah, so that's all ready to start weaving, and I've chosen some different yarns, lots of, far too many than I need, but it gives me, you know, different option to go for it. Plus I've got my basket, which I showed you earlier, with the smaller bits of yarn in, which I will also be using as well to just break up some of this colour. So now to get weaving. As you can see, the weaving actually works up really quickly, and due to all the colours going that way, it just creates I think it's such a beautiful effect, considering it's just plain weave. So I'm just going backwards and forwards, there's no fancy stitches. I suppose because it's hand spun, you have got, you know, different thicknesses of yarns. So for instance, just here you can see it's kind of raised a bit more, and then I've also got some locks over here, so it does give, you know, a good different effect. And we start off here with sort of some colour change wool, and then some thicker That was just coarse spun, the purple. But yeah, it comes out really lovely, and you don't need to do much else to have quite an effective piece of cloth. The only thing I'm a bit dubious about over here, what I didn't remember to do, normally when you're using hand spun, I find it a lot safer to use a 3-ply. So in other words, you've got three pieces of three singles plied together to make one thick rounded yarn, whereas this is only 2-ply, so I've only got 2 together there. So if one of those decides to snap, I'm in a bit of trouble. Whereas over here, at least you've got 3 bits of yarn going round into one, and then if one does snap, you've still got 2 holding it together, because that's the only thing with weaving with your hand spun yarn, is obviously it's probably not quite as strong. I have finished the entire weaving. Yay! It didn't take me too many hours, over a couple of days. What I'm going to do now, I have to snip these ends. So we're just going to go like this, snip through them all the way along. I won't carry on doing this because it'll be boring watching me cut through those. And when I've done that, I've got to tie these ends up. I'll then be taking this off of the loom, which I'll try and film if possible, if I can get the right angle and fit you in. And then I've got to tie up the other end, and then I've got to wash it, and it's done. So I'll get back to you when I've tied up the ends. So what I do, I do one end and then one on the other end, and I literally get 2 strands. There are different ways of doing this, but I like to do them all individually, and I just tie a knot in them. It's as simple as that. You can get 2 or 3 strands and tie one knot, but I prefer to just do one at a time, because then I know it's nice and secure and it's not all going to fall apart on me. And because it's sort of a it's not, I can't think of the words. What is it with words? I like to leave the tassels long and short. I don't want it all neat and tidy. To me, it's all organic. That's the word I think I wanted. So I'm going to carry on doing this. I'm now soaking the final weaving in some warm water for about 20 minutes to half an hour, and then drying it on the line. This just makes the weave come together, fluffs it up a bit. Luckily for November, it managed to dry pretty much in one day. It's still damp a bit on the edges, but I'll give you a closer up look of it and all the work in it. I love all the colours. I might have to keep some for myself. No, not really. There's only so many one person can wear, isn't there? It looks rather nice on the back of the sofa, actually. Ooh, I wouldn't mind making a whole sofa look like that. That would be rather awesome, wouldn't it? It's lovely. Anyway, that one's done. That's going to be a Christmas present. And now I've just got to make 2 more. Week 1 of November's Coverlet of Comfort, and we're doing Borrow. I love Borrow. Haven't done much of it, but I love the simplicity of the mending. I don't really know much about it, you know, to go into depth, but I just love the whole concept of it. I've spent the last couple of days tea dyeing a lot of the cloth because I wanted it to look old and worn, and they're the scrap bits that I dyed, and then I dyed some larger pieces here. This was my dad's silk tie, just normal fabrics, nothing special, but they've come up much better. This was like a blue colour, so now, mind you, the camera makes it look quite grey, but it's a bit more, yeah, browny. It looks very worn. And obviously this is lovely colour, tea dye, because that would be black and white, which is quite bright. So yeah, that's what I did. It spent a couple of days tea dyeing all these fabrics. I got a little bit of red to poke through as well, some red silk hair. And then I've spent this weekend putting together the layers. So I'll try and get it in. I might have to go up a bit. Let me just climb on my chair. Hold on a minute. This could be very wobbly. There we go. Whoa, all done. I'm not going to do the editing. Don't worry about that. So that is what we've got. My gosh, I've got to go right to the ceiling almost up here. Yeah, that's what we've got so far. So I think the next thing in week 2 will be stitching on it. I'll come down and you can have a bit more of a closer look. I've tried to stick to the blues and the sort of beige colours, but then I have added in a bit of purple. It's like purple and then it's orange, because it was an old bit of sari silk, and I thought, you know, the older cloths, and again, that was nice and old, I really wanted in there, so I just sort of went with the colours and what I had, to be honest. Obviously that's extremely bright, but yeah, I don't know, quite like it. I'm quite pleased with the overall design. I might end up adding more pieces as I go when I stitch, but we will see. So that is week 1 of the Coverlet of Comfort. This week we are stitching on top of our layered fabric. I'm going to use white vintage cotton. It's actually a crochet cotton that I found in the charity shop, so I think I'm going to stick with that throughout. I'm just finding spaces that I think could do with a little bit of stitching, following along with Catherine. I've made a start on the alpaca wrist warmers. I'm winging it. I've made quite a few wrist warmers before and they've all been crocheted ones. So I've sort of got a rough idea what I'm doing, but I'm actually knitting my first pair because, as I've said many times before, crochet is my thing. Knitting I really enjoy, but I'm slow at it. And if I drop a stitch, I'm stuffed. I have to unpick it and start again. Anyhow, what I've decided to do, I'm literally doing stockinette stitch until it's big enough. Let's not lose the stitches. So at the moment we're almost there, because I've got really small hands anyway. And then obviously that I like the way that stockinette stitch, you know, you get the little curling, because it will curl here and it should curl at the top here. They're super soft and warm. They're lovely. So I haven't got much to go. I would like them a bit further down, I think, on my hand, on my wrist. So I've probably got about that much, and then it's done. And what I will do is, obviously, I will, yeah, I can't do it, can I? Because it's obviously a needle attached, but I will sew up the seams and then I'll leave a space for a thumb hole. It's the simplest way to make wrist warmers. I do love all the pattern ones, they're beautiful, but I like to wear mine a lot and they soon start to look a bit ropey, and I tend to sort of make a pair for myself every year because they get a bit felted, because I get hot hands when I'm crafting, you know. So yeah, they're coming on along nicely. I'm hoping to finish the first one tonight, and that's only taken me probably about 45 minutes. That's not too bad for me, is it? I mean, someone like my mum would knit it up in 5 minutes because she's super speedy. But, you know, I'm enjoying the process. Slow knitting is what it is. They're all done. But spot the major mistake. My excuse was I was sewing them up and I was trying to watch my son do his electronics and help him with that, and also teach my daughter to stitch some fabric together. So whilst doing that, I was also sewing these up, and any great knitter will know that's the right way round for stockinette stitch. This one, well, I think it should have gone up that way and possibly inside out. I can't even work it out. Fortunately, they're nice and fluffy and you can't actually tell too much. And they're for me and I don't really care. Doesn't matter. And this one's probably a bit shorter too, but hey ho, the magic of making things yourself when you're just trying to wing it. But what's important is they're nice and warm, they're nice and comfortable, so I don't really mind. And I don't even know if the camera will pick it up, but I suspect it will to all of you that knit really well and think, whoopsie. Anyway, I thought I'd show you. There we go. So I've treated myself to an early Christmas present and bought myself these Knit Pro Nova Metal. I'm suddenly getting into my knitting and I've always wanted to learn to knit really well. I'm okay, but if I drop a stitch, that's it. I can knit socks. I've done a couple of tank tops. But I really want to make a jumper and I decided to invest in these interchangeable needle sets. So these are the ones I chose. Oh, I like the little pocket pouch, that's rather nice. So we've got a little zip on the back there. So I thought what I'd do is open them with you. Oh, so in here, oh, I think these are stitch stoppers or something. I'm not really sure what they're for because, as I say, I'm sort of still new to knitting. I can crochet like anything and do most stitches, but knitting I'm not so good at. These are the different cable length. I think there was a 60, 100 and an 80. And then they go on to the needles. Let's have a look what they're like. Oh, lovely. So we've got, they range from, I know they, yeah, 3.5 up to 8. So I'll get the 8s out because they're slightly bigger. Oh yeah, I like those. They're really lightweight. They're lovely actually. Really nice. And then I suppose what you do is put, yeah, you screw that into there and then off you go for knitting. I'm just trying to find myself a pattern now to knit a jumper in the round. Also, I'd like to have a go at the crochet wrist warmers as well. That crochet, I'm on about knitting, the knitted wrist warmers, which obviously I did on straight needles, the pair that you've just seen. So I want to have a look at how to do them on circular needles too. So I can't wait to get using these. Quite excited about that. So I thought I'd share them with you. They're rather nice, aren't they? I like those. I am really loving the circular needles. I have started making a jumper from the collar downwards. Never done one before, but I'm really enjoying using these circular needles. Far easier than using straight needles. I seem to be getting on a lot better. The top here is a bit ropey, but that always happens when I'm making socks. I think it's that first couple of rows is quite difficult to do. I'm using my hand spun alpaca to start with, and then I'm going to use all the sort of natural browns I've got. So I'm going to start from light and then work my way downwards. Apparently after the collar I have to start knitting the yoke, which is the bit, in case you don't know, I had to Google it, which is the bit like the neck shaping down to the sleeves apparently. So yeah, but I'm really enjoying it. So hopefully, even if the jumper doesn't work out, I'm not too worried because it's all practice, isn't it? And I'll just unpick it and start again. I did have an idea about doing a live one evening, afternoon, something like that, where I'm just making something and we can chit chat. So you can bring along your sewing, your knitting, your crocheting, your spinning, whichever you like to do, painting, and then, you know, we could chat in the comments and I'll just chat. Well, I'm quite good at chatting, but when I'm creative, I tend to be quite quiet. So we'll see how it goes. But it was just an idea. And the other thing I did think of doing was maybe like a Q&A. So if anyone's got any questions, please leave them in the comments. Also, do let me know in the comments if you'd like to do a live with me, like a craft along with a cup of tea. Something like that, where we just craft and have our cup of teas and have a chat online. Up to you. Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'll stop wittering. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.